Hello, all. Thanks for tuning into Appointed Life Podcast, where you are encouraged and inspired to live life God's way by applying His Word. My name is Ernede, and I am so glad that you are listening. So today I want to continue in this series of the promises of God, and I want to discuss with you what your posture should be in order for you to experience the promises of God in your life. Now, continuing on from the topic of God's faithfulness, we understand and know that God is faithful because that's just who He is. And like it says in 2 Timothy 2:13, He cannot deny Himself. And what drives God to be faithful? It's His word. It's His promises. See, faithfulness is unfailingly remaining loyal to someone or something, and then putting that loyalty into consistent practice regardless of extenuating circumstances. And we know, reading the Bible, we know that seeing how God operated with the children of Israel, that this is true of His nature. So as an example, the children of Israel. See, in Deuteronomy 9, verse 4 through 5, it was clear, God made it clear, the only reason why He was making way in the wilderness and opening the promised land to them was because of the word He swore to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Now, regardless of their continual disobedience and idolatry, as well as their unfaithfulness, God was bound by His word. According to Hebrews 6:17 through 18, it is impossible for God to lie. Whatever God speaks is truth, and therefore He must remain true to His word. Now, if this is who God is as it relates to His promises, then what should our posture be? Yes, we know that God is faithful to fulfill His promises no matter what. But there is an attitude that we must also have to experience the promises of God fully in right standing with Him. I mentioned the scripture Deuteronomy 7 verse 9 in the previous podcast, and it says, "Understand therefore that the Lord your God is indeed God. He is faithful God, who keeps His covenant for 1,000 generations and lavishes His unfailing love on those." Now, we're about to see what your posture should be in this scripture. See, the first part of the verse talks about God being faithful. Now, this last part of the verse saying that He is faithful to fulfill, and He lavished His unfailing love on those who love Him and obey His commands. So your posture should be that of love towards God and obedience to His word. Jesus says in Matthew 22:37, "Love the Lord your God with all of your heart and with all of your soul and with all of your mind." See, that type of love where you're loving God with who you are, your being will drive you to obey His commands. So you must know that being obedient to God is not a burden. Abraham did not see it a burden when God called him in Genesis 12 to leave his family's house, to leave a place of familiarity. He did not see that as a burden. God promised Abraham that He would bless him and all generations to come after him. Now, if Abraham remained where he was and didn't listen to God's instructions, what would have been the results? See, in order for us to experience the promises of God, we must be receptive to His word. God only wants good for us, but we have to be able to receive it with our hearts, our minds, and our soul. We must trust in Him, trust in the process, and have faith to know that He will come through for us. And just as He is faithful, we ourselves must be faithful unto Him in order for us to see the blessing, in order for us to experience the promises in its fullness. Proverbs 28:20 states, "A faithful man will abound with blessings." And being faithful is also a part of the fruit of the Spirit in Galatians 5:22. So it is something that God is calling us to exercise. God is a great God. Now let us hold fast the confession of our hope without wavering. For he who promised is faithful. Hebrews 10:23. Once again, thank you for listening to Appointed Life, and I pray that you have a blessed day.
The covenant's keeping